Welcome to today's episode of Queerly Natural, where we talk about queerness in the natural world. We discuss different traits and qualities of animals, plants, fungi, and more, and how they relate to queer identities in humans. Some may argue our identities are not natural, and we are here to say they queerly are. We're your hosts. I'm Ilana.
And I'm Sage. I want to start by thanking our supporters, especially our Legacy Tree patron on Patreon, Nate. You can join Nate in supporting the show on our Patreon or Ko-fi, or you can give us a shout out on social media. Next, I'd like to address my name. If you've listened to the show before this, you've known me as Hannah. I am non-binary and have continuously been exploring who I am and my own identity, and as part of that exploration, I've discovered that I no longer identify with my old name, so from now on, I will be going by Sage. And last but not least, this episode's species. Ilana teaches me all about the bucktooth parrotfish, a tropical fish with some interestingly bovine habits.
Hi everyone, it's been a little while, but I'm so excited to talk to you today about another fish. I'm not a fish person. I mean, I don't mind fish, but I don't study fish, but somehow here we are once again.
Are you sure you're not a fish person? I'm just saying, you're always the one who does the fish.
Yeah, I don't know why. The sea is just full of a lot of queer creatures. What can I say?
I'm just saying, for two mycologists, 2 of 9 episodes being about fish is not what I expected, but I'm into it.
Here we are. All right. Well, as you know, it's a fish. Specifically, I'm talking about a fish that's considered one of the parrotfish, which are the family Scaridae, which consist about 95 species or so. But specifically, we are going to jump into Sparisoma radians, the bucktooth parrotfish, the genus of which came into being about 13 to 15 million years ago, and the species is thought to be 11 million years old.
Wow. Why are there so many kinds of this fish? Are they all in different places?
So yeah, a bunch of them, I think they've just like specialized in different areas. A lot of them are related to coral reef areas, which I would think like it'd be probably not too hard to speciate there, because if you're in a different coral reef, you're probably not going to get to the other one very quickly. Sparisoma radians, known as the bucktooth parrotfish, was named to science in 1840 by Valenciennes, and named with a bunch of other fish. This was part of like a 22-volume work on like the nature of fish that this person and his mentor worked on. This fish is, I guess, pretty popular. It actually had 9 other names that were not accepted. So in science, typically we take the oldest version of the name, even if it's been named multiple times since then. The only time the name actually changes is if we realize, no, it belongs in a different genus or a different species group. I think some cases it was just renamed because, I mean, 1840s, probably not everyone's able to get the one book that had the name of this species. So some might have been like changes that ended up not being correct, and some might have just been right out like, we named it this and you named it that, and it's just who got there first.
Interesting.
So, 1 out of 10 names got chosen. It's exciting. Before I dive too deeply into this fascinating fish, shall I have you describe it?
Yes. I'm excited. Did you say it has buck teeth?
It's called the bucktooth parrotfish.
Oh, it's just called that? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
That's why the bump head was a very close second, because it does have a funny head.
I'm like, what's even the point of common names sometimes? I'm looking at these pictures. Wow. Okay. They have like this great camouflage going on. This first picture, initially I didn't even see the fish. I was just like, that's a lot of sand, like I thought there was like a hole in the sand, but it was like the fish's eyeball. And I was like, no, that's a fish.
Yeah, that first picture especially, it's just like, you don't see me anywhere.
Right. They are sand colored, like they're kind of like speckled with like white and gray and stuff. Very sand like. The second one is also pretty camouflaged. I want to find one where they're not like backdropped by.
Yeah, there are some if you go down a little bit, but they've got pretty decent camo for their different environments.
This one looks much more like organized in its, patterns, visual patterns. It's got like stripes down the side, horizontal stripes. So like the tummy is that speckly white sandy, but then it's got a stripe down its fin that's kind of darker, and then a stripe along its like spine that's the same dark color. So it does have like distinct markings, like even though it's disorganized enough that it looks like sand. Let's see. Yeah, what else can I say about this? Hold on. Gotta think of my fish words. I don't know a lot of them. I don't spend a lot of my time thinking or talking about fish. I'm sorry.
Recently, I've been spending a lot more time thinking about fish. I did not expect it to be that way, but here we are.
Right. Only when Ilana brings it up am I struggling with fish words. So I just described the like stripes that are on the body. They have some fins. The dorsal fin on its back is pretty like low to its body. I don't know if it's just because this one doesn't have, they can like raise the spines or something sometimes and like make it bigger. But the fins are like kind of yellow colored. The dorsal fin, what's the tummy fin? The ventral fin? That would make sense to me.
So I do have a handy dandy diagram.
Ooh.
You've got the back, which is the dorsal fin.
Yeah.
There's a spiny one and there might be a soft one. I'm looking at a yellow perch diagram, so it might be slightly different, but the basics here. You got the side ones, which are the pectoral fins, and then you've got the tummy ones, which are the pelvic fins, and then you've got the back ones, which is the anal fin, and then the caudal tail, which is not called a fin.
The caudal tail? What's that?
That's just the tail. It's the caudal fin or the tail.
Ooh, okay. When it's in someone's hands, it looks more like green tinged, less white and just stripy, and in the person's hand it looks kind of green. Everything but its tummy is still the sandy white speckled pattern. The eyes are red.
Not like scary red though.
Very friendly, welcoming red. I would be this fish's friend.
Anyway, would you like me to take over?
Yes, please. I'm struggling so hard. I don't know what else to say.
It's so daunting to describe a species by yourself. It's how I felt last episode, trying to explain what a hyena looked like.
At least then you're like, these are the arms. I'm like, I don't even know what fin that is. I don't even know what word to use for that.
As I said, the original descriptions and everything are in French, possibly some in Latin. I don't know. I couldn't get through the volumes to figure it out. I just saw words that made no sense to me. So I went to the Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute's handy-dandy website and looked up the bucktooth parrotfish. Here is their description. I'm going to try and explain a little better what it's saying as I go, because as we know, it's a lot of very fancy descriptive words that just don't make a lot of sense when you say them all together.
Right.
So the body is elongate, oval, and somewhat compressed. So it's a bit longer than it is tall. It's not super wide. It's kind of an oval shape. Most fish, I believe, for dynamics in water are shorter in the front and the back, wider in the center. There's words for that. I don't remember what they are. I think fusiform is the word I'm looking for.
Ooh, yeah, that definitely sounds like a word that could mean that.
Yeah, tapering at both ends. Fusiform.
Nice.
See, I remembered a word from biology classes.
Amazing.
Anyway, they have a flap at the front nostril. Their teeth are fused into a beak with broad plates. So parrotfish in general are kind of known for having these beaks. It helps them eat, which is kind of cool.
I'm disappointed there wasn't a picture of that.
I mean, they're not that big of a fish, and it's a tropical fish. I love iNaturalist, but the image collection is skewed towards a lot of North America and like where people who are playing on iNaturalist are a lot of times.
Right. I just want to see their little twofers.
I'll try and find you some tooth pictures later. Their teeth are rough and you can kind of see the individual teeth, but they're partially covered by lips, which is why you couldn't see them. When their mouth is closed, the front edge of their top jaw is inside the front edge of the lower jaw. So they have an underbite, I guess.
Interesting.
And they have 1 to 2 canines on the back of their top jaw, and then they have molar teeth. And this forms what they call a pharyngeal mill in the throat. I don't know. I guess it helps them with eating.
I have a question. Is it like normal for fish to have teeth?
There is a whole group of fish that do have teeth.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Do they fall out? It's just interesting to me. Because, like, I guess sharks have teeth. Sharks are cartilaginous, though. So shark teeth have to be different from bony fish teeth, right?
Yes. There is like a taxonomy term for where it branches off of like teeth and no teeth.
Hi, this is Sage from the future. So, a little background on the evolution of teeth. Teeth first appeared in the fossil record about 410 million years ago, and they first appeared in jawless fish. These jawless fish would become the ancestors of both bony fish that have bony skeletons, as well as sharks that have teeth and cartilaginous skeletons. So the teeth of sharks and bony fish, as well as all other vertebrates like dogs and humans and reptiles, those teeth are related, although sharks lack all the other bones that all of those other animals have. So, the more you know. Back to the show.
So, they got their teethies, and we go into some information about their spines specifically, because there's certain numbers of spines on that dorsal fin. As you said, some fish are able to like move it around. There's little notches between the spines, so it's not perfectly smooth. They have large scales. And they have that center line, which a lot of fish have.
Oh, I think you mean the lateral line, which is the faint line of pores running horizontally down the body of most fish. The lateral line is used to sense changes in movement and pressure in the water around the fish, and it's important in schooling behavior, predation, and just orienting the fish in the water.
So there's two like color phases, which is probably why you were getting confused between how to describe them. So there's what they call the initial phase, where it's like a greenish brown on top and a creamy white below, and it's like got some blotches, even a little bit of pink.
Especially the one in the guy's hand that I was talking about last. It was very colorful.
Yeah, and then the terminal phase is like greenish brown above, yellowish gray below, might be some more yellowy in some spots.
Wait, terminal, what does that mean?
I think it's like initial phases, what they start out with, and then they'll switch to the other one and maybe not switch back. And then they have some striping, like a blue kind of stripe and a red kind of stripe. They've got some differentiation and coloration. As you'll note, the top of the fish tends to be darker than the bottom. That's actually something a lot of aquatic species have, a lot of fish. It's a way of camouflaging, because if you're underneath the fish and you're looking up, things are very bright, so you want a light tummy. Or if you're above the fish and looking down, things get really dark, so you want a dark back. And they can get up to like 20 centimeters long. The size differentiation I'll get into in a little bit.
Cool.
So that's kind of a quick description. We will have photos on our socials or on our website. I always encourage you to check that out, because trying to describe something like that is hard. Fish looks like fish and has colors.
It's a cute fish. This one trended on the small side. So, baby tiny cute fish.
Mm-hmm. We have our cuteness rating later, don't you worry.
Nice.
Actually, no, this is our cuteness rating time, isn't it? How would you rate the cuteness of this fish?
Would you say it's adorable? I would say maybe I will change my mind after I see the teethers, but I'll just say it's cute for now.
I don't know. I think toothy fish can be pretty cute too.
Yeah, no, I'm saying like maybe after I see the teethers, I'll say it's adorable. I'm holding that to give it room to grow,
Ooh, gotcha. Anyway, the genus Sparisoma is restricted to the Atlantic and like close by areas. As I said, they can get up to 20 centimeters, but they're often more around 15. Fun fact, unlike a lot of fish, they use their pectoral fins to glide.
Ooh, the pectoral fins are like their arms.
The pectoral is the side fins.
So they like fly in the water. That's cute.
They like glide.
Wow.
They can live up to 5 to 7 years. The fish in that genus can get up to 4 feet, but Sparisoma radians, this specific species, is considered on the smaller side. It's between 5 to 7 inches or like 15 to 20 centimeters, somewhere around that range.
Cool.
And if you remember, I said that the family appeared 15 to 20 million years ago. That's actually considered a recent addition.
Geologically, yeah.
Though, utilizing the mitochondrial DNA, they figured it's between 14.3 to 35 million years ago. So, cool thing. Mitochondrial DNA is passed down directly from your mother. This is the same with humans, where like our regular DNA is mom and dad. The mitochondria is just the mom. So it allows for some really cool research like that.
Yep. Because it's never crossing over events or anything like that to change it up.
Yeah. The closest relative of this species is Sparisoma chrysopterum. For their actual DNA, another fun fact, they have 46 chromosomes total, so 2N for 46, but it's more common for fish in these groupings to have about 84, so they be special with less.
Oh, interesting.
Kinda neat. Let's back away a little bit to talk about their habitat.
Yeah.
So these fish are associated with tropical reefs, but specifically they can be found in tropical West Atlantic like Bermuda, Florida, the Bahamas, the eastern Gulf of Mexico, and kind of through like Central America to Santa Catarina, Brazil.
So the same people who get to see the parrots get to see the parrotfish?
I guess so.
I'm jealous. I want one of them.
I mean, you gotta move, I guess.
I'll go pay him a visit.
So these fish are pretty much specific to the Western Atlantic. A few have been sighted in the Eastern Atlantic, but they think that was just, adventuring fish, not like whole populations. Occasionally you get that Frodo fish. It needs to go on an adventure. Maybe it's a Bilbo. It comes back. Who knows? I didn't ask.
That's cute. Oh.
But while most parrotfish are considered to habitate reefs, like coral reefs, these guys actually tend to stay around the seagrass beds. They are actually one of the most common herbivores of seagrass in these areas.
Ooh. They just munch on the grass?
Yeah. They are the ocean's mowing machines.
That's so cute.
Yeah. Food is very serious for them. They spend up to 90% of their day eating.
Oh.
So they've got some serious eating schedules here. Along with the seagrass blades, they eat primarily epiphytes and macroalgae. So they're also vegetarians.
Ooh. Epiphytes. Nice.
Yeah, do you want to explain what an epiphyte is?
Isn't it a plant that grows on another plant?
Yep. So epiphytes are an organism that grows on the surface of a plant.
Cool.
I mean, if you're eating the plant, it makes sense to eat the epiphytes. So those are their main foods. If they're going for macroalgae, that's when they occasionally visit reefs. But again, primarily seagrass. Actually, two scientists, Lobel and Ogden, did some preference tests to see what they like to eat specifically. And they found that the preferred food of seagrass resulted in better survival. So it's probably not just that they prefer this food, it's more nutritious for them. They actually preference older grass blades, which is thought to be really good for the ecosystem because it is less harmful to the plant and also tends to have more endophytes. So extra nutrition.
Nice.
Yeah, so they really are like the pruners of the seagrass beds. They're the gardeners.
Oh, they're little farmers. They're the little cows in the sea.
They are.
That's cute.
So that's where they live. That's what they eat. Let's talk a little bit about how they interact with each other and what their family units look like.
Yeah.
Fish families. So predominantly they live in harems. A territory is protected by a dominant male with multiple females. Size is important to male dominance. There are other males that may be roaming the area. The females release eggs that are then fertilized by the males outside of the fish's body. And so it makes it a little bit easier for, some non-dominant males to come in and fertilize some eggs themselves. So the dominant male will try and fight off the other males. So typically the smaller ones are the ones fought off. But these bachelors will occasionally come in and fertilize some eggs. Okay, so here we go. The coloration is based partially on sex. So females have the initial coloration we talked about, that really better camouflaged one.
Ah.
Some bachelor males will keep that coloration, where the dominant male and some bachelor males will have territorial coloration, which I believe is that more stripy coloration we saw.
Interesting.
So as I said, they reproduce by the females and males releasing egg and sperm outside of the body, which is known as spawning, which occurs for them in the afternoon. And it's called streaking when another fish comes in and tries to fertilize those released eggs.
fish dick out. Do fish have dicks? I think they just like release the sperm into the water.
Yeah, I think they just release it. There is occasionally like group spotting where it's like multiple males with a female.
Nice.
So that's their social structure. One fun little fact here that I found, I wasn't able to fully confirm it's in this species specifically, but in multiple parrotfish species, when they sleep at night, they form little mucus cocoons for protection.
What? Oh.
As thought to either be toxic or mask their scent or some other type of protection. I wasn't able to confirm exactly it's in this species, but it is in numerous parrotfish species.
That's so interesting. So they like just like cover themselves in snot at night.
Yeah, comfy cozy.
Cute.
I also just want to take a moment to talk a little bit about the human impacts on these fish. So, being tropical fish, a variety of parrotfish are threatened and endangered. This occurs due to overfishing, habitat destruction. Many of them, though, are still considered least concern. So, different status, you've got endangered, threatened, of concern, and then a variety here till least concern. And while these species populations are doing pretty well, because many of them live in or by coral reefs, there's concern that with climate change and invasion on these reefs and pollution, that will turn very quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah, most parrotfish are not considered endangered. One that is the greenback parrotfish, which is in a different genus, Scarus trispinosus. It's endangered. The bumphead parrotfish, which I've mentioned a few times now, Bulbometopon muricatum, is vulnerable. These two are larger bodied and long-living species, which combined make them more likely to end up on these kinds of lists because long-lived, they tend not to produce as fast.
And because they're bigger, they're more likely to be fished.
Yeah, and also more intensive resources to grow. So I don't know the specifics of why these guys are on it, but those are some trends that we have seen with other species.
Makes sense. So this one's not of concern right now.
No.
But there is signals that it may become of concern.
Our little bucktooth parrotfish is all right currently.
Good for them. I am so worried though.
Yeah. So here, the bumphead parrotfish, part of the reason is overfishing. They like to sleep in large aggregations in like specific areas, so people learn those areas and can get a lot of them when they're sleeping. Aww. Which is really sad, but the thought of them all sleeping in like a little group is adorable.
They like to sweep together, and then we take advantage of that to kill all of them at once.
If you guys are encouraged to protect our parrotfish and their habitats especially, which if destroyed will definitely harm them, the Nature Conservatory has a hashtag Pass on the Parrotfish campaign to encourage people to avoid eating them as a method to protect the reefs. Because parrotfish, we talked about this one being a lawnmower or gardener for the seagrasses. Other parrotfish are the cleaners of coral reefs by eating algae. So parrotfish, pretty important. Give them lots of love. Maybe consider avoiding eating them to reduce fishing and all of that.
Let their population thrive.
So that was a lot of info. I've got to shuffle my notes and then we'll come back to talk about just how queer these bucktooth fish are.
Hi everyone. We wanted to stop here in the middle to say something about current events.
Living in the United States right now, there's a lot going on, and I just wanted us to take a moment to acknowledge it. There's been a lot of anti-gay, anti-trans legislation popping up.
This includes the recent decision by the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn federally enforced access to abortion, as well as their intention to potentially overturn cases that legalize same-sex marriage, as well as same-sex activity in your own home, and other things related to personal privacy.
There's been school shootings, which is something that hits hard to me. And I just wanted to say, always remember you are amazing, no matter what other people may think of who you are. They just don't understand it. So just keep staying strong and stay safe. Let's get talking about how queer they are. I know we've already covered a decent number of terms this episode. You don't need to know a lot of them. and I try to explain them all the time. But there's some terms I want to just mention now, and again, I'll use their definitions later to understand what's going on here. One is sequential hermaphroditism. I don't think I pronounced that correct. Hermaphroditism, which is basically when there's a change in the functional expression of sex from one to the other. So it is when over time a species can change from one sex to the other, and this is just from expressing a different sex, even though they contain the DNA to be either.
Aha. So you're saying hermaphrodite can be both sexes, and since you're saying it's sequential, they're not both sexes at once.
They're not expressing it at once.
They don't express it at once. They have the potential at once. But you're saying they can, like, physiologically switch from producing sperm as a male to producing eggs as a female, right?
Correct.
Amazing.
And this is rare. It's pretty much only known for vertebrates in a group called the teleosts, which are a group of fish, though there is some possibility of a few frogs being able to do this.
Wow.
And this has led to two different groupings. Protandry, which is when you start as a male and you switch to a female. And this is in some parrotfish, groupers, and wrasses. About 19 families express this. And then there's protogeny, where you switch from female to male, and this is in some anemone fishes and parrotfish. About 10 families, so a little bit more rare.
Wow. So you said it's like pretty rare in vertebrates, so like things with bony spines?
Yeah, it's basically only fish.
It is pretty common in like worms and like slugs and stuff though, right?
Well, I believe worms and slugs are hermaphrodites, not sequential hermaphrodites. So sequential only express one sex at a time. They have the DNA for both, but they only express one, where hermaphrodites express both at the same time.
Ah, okay, makes sense.
And then in some cases, this switch is permanent. In some cases, it's called sequential bidirectional sex change, in which you can go either direction. And this is pretty much just gobies. They do what they want. That was a lot of terminology, but I just wanted to set the stage for talking about our bucktooth parrotfish.
Hell yeah.
These guys express protogeny. They switch from female to male.
Okay.
And this is more common in fish where the size of the male is an important factor for mating, and in harem-style mating setups, because it's one male protecting a territory of multiple females.
Ah, so they all are born female to start out with?
I'm not sure. So there was some literature talking about how in some cases they're all born female, in some cases there's male and female, but female have the chance to switch.
Oh, so the switch only happens if they start female.
Yes. I'm not positive what's going on here because there are bachelor males.
Right.
And I'll go into a moment why those might be born male.
Okay.
But basically for these guys, in their harem, there's that dominant male. If that dominant male dies or disappears, after a few days, one of the female fish will switch to being a male fish and be the dominant one again.
What? That's so cool.
So they don't have to let an outsider in. It's still just them, but one of them will switch over. Occasionally, if there's a lot of harems in a small area, this might not happen and the harem might join another. Or if there is, just by chance and luck, a bachelor nearby, it won't happen. But in these cases, many times a female will switch to being male when the dominant male disappears.
I wonder how they choose which one. I wonder if one's like, fuck, I'll take one for the team. We gotta make it to babies.
So actually, that's a huge question in a bunch of literature, is which female becomes male and why is it that one? So initially people would think like, oh, the largest female should become male because the bigger you are as a male, the better you have at keeping your territory.
Makes sense.
However, for these guys, it's not true. The largest female is more likely to stay female.
Wow.
Yeah. It's more likely that a female within a certain size range will change, but not going to the largest size.
Did you find anything on whether the females who become the dominant males are more likely to be displaced by bachelors?
So females in general tend to be larger as they age than the males. So even a not largest female still might be a larger male.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
And there's a few different thoughts as to why the largest one, which you'd think you'd want the largest to be the male, is not. One concept was dealing with fecundity, so how likely these species and how well they can reproduce. Really large females are able to, of course, produce a large number of eggs. So while males can produce more sperm, they also have to deal with more competition from these streaking bachelors. They're also more likely to be preyed upon. As we talked about, they have that different coloration.
Right.
They're probably spending more time patrolling. So there's a reduced survival chance. You want a large female, but not the largest, because you want a large male, but the largest female is going to do better staying female. So these are actually two different ideas of why this is happening.
That makes sense, though. Now that you say it, like, a larger female is clearly, like, better at acquiring resources. As she grew, her size grew faster because she was probably better at acquiring energy and resources to invest in size. And eggs are much more energetically expensive to produce than sperm, so probably safer for the harem as a whole to keep the largest female so that, you have this reliable fish making the valuables.
Yeah, she's able to produce so many eggs, it doesn't really make sense for her to change. And also, if she changed, there's a chance that she'd be dying, so you want to keep her making eggs and then take one who's producing less eggs and be like, you're a male now, you get to produce lots of sperm.
Right.
But you have a chance of either competing with another or dying. And it seems likely that both of these things factor into it. They were investigated as separate and found not to fully explain this. There's probably other things going on. Change occurs with social cues. Change occurs relatively fast because it literally only takes a few days for them to switch. Once you go male, however, there's no going back.
So you have to be sure that you want to do it. My question, though, is like the fish can't think, okay, I'm going to turn male now. I mean, maybe they do. Maybe they think that. But there's no way we can know that. So what is the trigger? So
it's thought to be in part social cues. Otherwise, specifically, I'm not quite sure. My guess would be like combination of social cue and chemical cue. If one female maybe starts the process, it hits a point of releasing a chemical that indicates to others, like, don't do it. I've got this.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure on that one. I spent more time looking into why this is how it is rather than what's happening specifically.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
The reason we keep talking about fish is there's a lot of queer fish. Like, there's a whole bunch of sex-changing fish out there. They do what they want.
They're fascinating. They do whatever they want. The ocean, freedom, baby.
And there's like a ton more information on these guys and their sex change and hypotheses as to what's happening, along with other parrotfish, because not all parrotfish change sex. Not all of them go female to male. And I encourage you guys to check it out. I will be including on our website the sources once our transcripts get released, which I'm hoping to try and do in a more timely manner. But feel free to always message us if you want to know where we got our info from. I keep a bibliography. Yeah, so what did you think of our little bucktooth parrotfish friend?
So cool. Just amazing. I don't even think I was aware that was possible in vertebrates, so definitely feel like you opened a lot of doors for me.
Yeah, it's so weird and it's so neat, and I guess you could say in a way this relates more to trans experiences. Again, like these fish aren't trans, that's not the correct terminology, and it's very different as this is a biological thing that can occur. But
like they have the DNA for both physiological sexes at once, which is unique from the human trans experience, yeah. But it's similar in that,
it's also societal.
Right, it's societal. It's triggered by behavioral cues. Not that being trans is triggered by like others' behavior toward you, but your gender identity is related to how you want to be perceived by other people and how you want to relate to other people. So like there is a social aspect to it. And it's also comparable because like while there are the differences in like genetic sex potential between these fish and humans, the body of the fish is still undergoing the like, endocrine changes, the physiological response to those hormonal changes that humans use medical intervention to achieve. So while the source of it is different, like the fish's change is genetic and ours is medical, the result on the body is kind of similar.
Mm-hmm. And it just goes to show that sex isn't permanent. You are not stuck with whichever one you were born with or assigned at birth. It's whatever you end up wanting it to be.
Right. This fish, like you said, it essentially has no genetic sex because they all have the genetics for both. So cool. We put all this weight on you need XX to be female. What's the gene that makes you male, like the SYR gene or something? You can't say that's nature's way or, that's the rule in biology because it's not. I mean, that's the case for us, at least part of the time. XX is female and XY with the SYR gene on the Y chromosome produces a male, but that's not always the case. There are humans with third sex chromosomes leading them to have XXY or XXX. There are instances where the SYR gene is on the X chromosome, so you have an XX individual with the SYR gene that makes them male. There's all different types of combinations in humans even.
Nature doesn't like to live by the rules.
Exactly.
If I've learned anything from biology, that's what I've learned.
Right? Like, you could argue whether the medical tools we use are quote unquote natural or not. That argument is so semantic and useless because the instance of trans medical care is literally the only instance in which this point comes up in conversation. Like, we never question whether glasses are natural or not, like seeing glasses that help you improve your vision. We just take the patient's word for it when they say, oh, these glasses would greatly improve my experience of the world. We trust them. The doctor doesn't do some physiological test. The doctor shows them what the world looks like through various types of glass, and the doctor takes the patient's word for it when they say, oh, this looks better, or this doesn't look better. It's entirely on the patient's word about their experience of the world. And that's what all medical care should be about. It should be about improving the patient's experience in life and their experience of the world around them. And so it seems entirely semantic for us to ask, oh, is it natural to provide this trans individual with gender affirming care when they are directly saying to the medical provider, this care would greatly improve my experience of life? Or in a lot of cases, improve my life to the point where I would consider it worth living. We are from nature. The things we do are natural.
Yep. And I think that's a great place to leave it and remind everyone to be who you are, love who you will. Remember, you're queerly natural. Bye.
Queerly Natural was created by Ilana Zeitzer, Elizabeth Furman, and Hannah Roden, with music by Megfist20. Thank you, Megfist, for putting your music in the Creative Commons. You are very talented. Visual design for the show is done by Ilana Zeitzer. To get updates about the podcast, follow us at Queerly Natural on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We also upload all of our sources and episode transcripts to our website, queerlynatural.com. Above all else, if you liked what you heard today, tell your friends. Thank you so much for listening, and keep an eye out for our next episode. Until next time, stay queer and remember, queerly, it's natural.